Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. Obviously, we got a lot of NFL action to talk about. We got NFL Super Bowl halftime to talk about. I wish I could repeat to you the text that L. Duncan sent me Sunday morning when I said that it must have been a good day to be her husband after Vanderbilt won and Georgia lost. And ooh, boy, there was a little bit of tension in that household. Good gracious. But anyway, we had a Panic Bowl on Sunday. The Panic Bowl was at Arrowhead Stadium. It was the Ravens and the Chiefs. And I think that this is pretty fair to say, even about the Chiefs, who obviously would be the team least inclined to panic out of any team in the NFL. That was a Panic Bowl. That is 2 excellent teams, or teams that we came into this year thinking of as probably being excellent. 2 teams with excellent quarterbacks, right? With multiple time MVPs at quarterback, both of whom went into that game with a 1-2 record. Like, this was kind of, sort of must win. Now, I would contend that actually going into the game, it was a bit more of a must win for the Chiefs than it was a must win for the Ravens. The reason I would say that it was more of a must win for the Chiefs than it was for the Ravens is that the Chiefs are in a very good division, right? I think I would stop short of saying excellent because the Raiders, right? But they are in a very good division. The Ravens, I mean, are we really believing in the Steelers right now? Like, are we sure about the Steelers? Are we positive about the Steelers? Because I'm not positive about the Steelers, right? Then after that, it's the Bengals, who, we had real questions about them, and that was before Joe Burrow got hurt. And then it's the Cleveland Browns, who, man, wow. I didn't realize, Ryan, just how bad the Saints and the Titans were until I realized how much worse their point differential was than the Browns.
Still throwing out Joe Flacco.
They are still throwing out Joe Flacco. What's so funny about them is if you don't root for them, it really doesn't matter at all who plays quarterback. Like, none of that is going to change the end result. And by the way, since the last time we talked about Shador on the show, is that when he said the thing about he be watching the league and seeing half of them cats and knowing that he can play, and it's just like, stop talking. Don't do that.
He handled the before this process so well, and wants to see it. And watching Joe Flacco is breaking.
Yeah, but also to be fair to him, and I think this is a very important point. I too think that I can do that. Like, at least Shador was nice enough to say that he was looking at the rest of the league.
Correct, not his own locker
room. He wasn't talking about, when he watches the rest of the league, when he watches film of the Browns. Yes, the rest of the league is also in these games, but directly in front of him is Joe Flacco, because I guarantee you this, Dylan Gabriel's mama is telling everybody that her son can play right now in those games. I guess Kenny Pickett don't play for them no more, but he looking at Joe Flacco like, I don't really understand why I'm over here behind Geno, who was cheeks in this last game. But anyway, back to the Ravens, who also were looking cheeks. Point differential is a thing that I think really matters the farther along you go in the season. Like, I think really at the midpoint of a season, it matters the most in terms of being a measure of how good your team is. It starts mattering a bit less at the end of the season, and I only say that then because the injury situation starts flipping up and more teams got more people banged up, and the team that you have at the end of the year becomes less reflective of the team that you've had through the duration of the sample over which you collect the point differential, right? You see what I mean? Like, what the team is in weeks, call it 12, is better connected to that total in many cases than what the team is in week 17, because the team that has week 17 got a lot more people in traction and shit, right? But the Ravens right now have a point differential of -2. That's not bad. That's kind of crazy for a team that is 1-3. This game against the Chiefs, they got smacked. Those other two losses obviously were close ones. And also, to be fair to them, the three teams that they've lost to are probably fairly good, right? We still don't know how good the Chiefs are, though credit to them on this. Number one, they looked like they had the confidence and they were going long. Anyway, I guess we saw this in some previous games too, but they are going for chunks. It's not just the nickel and dime show that it often feels like. They're clearly trying. Mahomes hasn't been as good on the deep ball as you like, but they're going for chunks. And two, and I think this part is important, Tyquan Thornton, whose name at this point in my old ass life sounds like he could be one of several wide receivers and defensive backs in the NFL. I don't know where he went to college. I don't know many particular details about him. I will look them up as we speak. However, he appears to be good. And he appears to be good in a way that I think for the rest of the season for the Chiefs. Worthy came back, and that, for me at least, is as good as I feel like I've seen Xavier Worthy look in the NFL, right? So he's back. Thornton is able to go long and do those things. And then at some point, Rashee Rice is going to be back. At which point, just throwing this out there, they could be kind of terrified. Holy smokes. Did you know, Ryan, that Tyquan Thornton ran a 4.21 unofficial 40 at the Combine in 2022?
I did not. I just remembered that he went to Baylor. So he's very one of those.
I'm going to tell you this. That boy went to Baylor and he is from Miami. And I am saying that to say to you, there's a story. I don't know what exactly that story is, but for the two of those two entities to come together with all those miles in between them.
Yeah, the Miami to Waco pipeline isn't exactly.
Not strong. Not strong. Not strong. Not strong. There's a, There's a story there. But anyway, that boy can burn. It appears that maybe he's been good all along and we just didn't know it because he had been playing for the modern incarnation of the New England Patriots. Just throwing it out there. But the Chiefs may be better than it appeared. They could be a team that is putting it all together. Meanwhile, back to the Ravens. I threw out the point about point differential to kind of undercut the point somewhat when talking about the Ravens. It matters, but the question about them is why y'all stay losing this game? And why do y'all stay looking like this when you lose this game? My buddy Nick makes this point, and I think his inclination can be to point more toward Lamar than is mine. But I do think the first place we look is the guy whose job Lamar saved 7 years ago. And it's Harbaugh. Because it's not just Lamar. Now, look, fairness to the Ravens also. That defense is looking like Afghanistan. You know what I'm saying? Bombed out and depleted. They are down, not just guys, but like good players. Like they've got issues on defense that aren't really anybody's fault. They also may have some issues that are people's fault, like what exactly our man Zach Orr is over there doing, right? But too often in games of this consequence or against teams of this quality who are not the Cincinnati Bengals, whose asses they consistently whoop, it looks a lot like this. Or it gets to the end and then it gets back to looking like this. And to me, the answer to that question is probably you need to go talk to the coach and see what is going on in that situation. I will tell you another funny story with my buddy Nick. There were two games that were on yesterday. We'll talk more about one of them later, but it was the Eagles and the Bucks for the day slate, and the Ravens and the Chiefs were in the 4 o'clock joint. And I decided to myself that was not a good day to go to Nick's house to watch football. Number one, he's heavily invested in Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield went to Oklahoma. So, I don't really be getting down with that. And I'm still not sold. But anyway, then it was the Ravens and the Chiefs. And I had a realization when the Ravens played the Detroit Lions on Monday night. And in case you're curious, the Detroit Lions have the highest point differential in the NFL. Did you note that? Anyway, I'm watching the game and I realized that I had, gotten back to this game of being a fan. and it's kind of new to me, right? Because I had, divorced myself after I got myself off that Atlanta Falcon narcotic. So I hadn't been a fan in a long time. And I looked up and I realized that being a fan then required me to do something that I generally ain't about doing. I generally kind of prefer not to do. And in fact, what I absolutely don't do, which is I was in a position where I had to root against Lamar Jackson. I just don't like doing that. I don't at all. But what I really wasn't feeling like, even with one of my very good friends, I can't be over there sitting next to this white man that is vehemently rooting against Lamar Jackson. And look, you got to understand something. We're talking about Nick here. My brother didn't know that Nick was white until sometime in the year 2018. And when I told him, he didn't believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of y'all be out here extending invites to the cookout. You sound ridiculous. But in this particular case, shit, cookout might be at Nick's house. So I don't want y'all to think that I'm casting any aspersions upon him with what I'm saying. Because, nah, I ain't worried about that at all when it comes to Nick. He's just a really big fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. But especially now that he got that long hair, I just couldn't be sitting next to this white man viciously rooting against Lamar Jackson. Like, I ain't that far in my journey. It don't feel right. Like, me and Dominique talk about this all the time. We got enough black quarterbacks now that I ain't got to ride for all of them, right? We ain't got to do that. Shout out to you, Tony Banks. My pops still like you. You know what I'm saying? But we ain't got to live like that no more. But that wasn't gonna feel right. I couldn't be in that place, right? And it'd have been extra bad because Lamar was out there doing exactly what Nick be saying he do. Allegations were not being beaten, right? Like it's all there for them. And what is troubling, would be troubling to me if I were a Ravens fan. I am not a Ravens fan, just to be clear. I'm just not in the business of rooting against Lamar Jackson. I ain't even got to root for him all the time. But I can't be rooting for his. No. That's what me and El was talking about last show. He be needing us. But anyway, I don't know what the Ravens can do in the course of the season that will alleviate the skepticism that I think that they have earned about the vaunted games that matter place, right? And I try to be careful about talking about, they can't win big games, because what happens when somebody says that you can't win big games is that the games that you win, by definition, then can't be big. So again, for example, we don't say that Joe Burrow can't win big games, but Joe Burrow can't win games against Lamar Jackson, using those terms in the way that y'all dumbasses be using them, like quarterbacks or whole teams, right? We don't say that about Burrow. Now, in part, obviously, it's because he went to a Super Bowl. But we pick and choose which of the big games matter. College football, James Franklin is the one who is dealing with that. Like, I feel like James Franklin has gotten them boys to a Rose Bowl and won a Big Ten championship. I feel like that probably involved winning a big game. But he done lost enough of the other ones that you just the guy that can't win big games, right? Now, with Franklin, in the ones that I've watched at least, I don't see a great through line as to what happens or how it goes. With the Ravens, the through line seems pretty simple, man. They seem to go out there tight. Like, they seem to go out there shook up playing these games, which is on one level wild because so many of their good players have been in the league so long at this point. But I also think, like, Ray Lewis does not play for this team. Ed Reed does not play for this team. Terrell Suggs does not play for this team. Peter Bullwood does not play for this team. The point that I'm making when I say that, because obviously they're all old. They don't play for this team. But this isn't a collection of dudes that have been there before. It's just not. They get some guys that have been there at different points, like Kyle Van Noy, for example. But this isn't a bunch of guys who have done this before. I don't know what it is about them. I don't know if it really is directly to blame on the coach. That's just the place to look. But 1-3 for them doesn't feel like the season's over, just because of how close a lot of these games have been. It doesn't feel like the season's over. They're going to have the best player on the field probably for the rest of the games they play this season. It doesn't feel like the season's over. The question is whether or not it matters if the season's over. If when you got a, win this or the season's over game, and there's not just a distinct possibility, but a likelihood, preponderance of evidence perhaps, that this is the way that you're going to wind up showing up, right? And again, this against a team that be handing your ass to you every time y'all play against them. Y'all ain't even look salty about it, right? That's the stuff that's easy for me to say from a distance. I fully understand. Forgive me if I'm being that guy. What guy? That guy. What guy? That guy. Forgive me if I'm doing that. But it can't keep being like that for them. On the other side, if the Chiefs can string a couple of these together, everybody in the AFC is going to be shook, and we're going to be back to thinking that they're the team that's going to win the conference and the division, a division that would be their 10th straight. It's just a little bit crazy. All right, man, we watched a few other games yesterday. Ryan, I don't know how much of that Eagles-Bucks game that I told you I didn't want to go to Nick's house to watch that you got a chance to see. At first, my read on that game was it felt like watching, because, the Bucks are 3-0 going in, but they had all these nail-biter wins against teams that aren't good.
And a lot of injuries are starting to mount up for them.
Yes, but it felt like one of those years where, for whatever reason, Mississippi State is 7-0.
And they play Alabama?
Yes, that is exactly how it felt. Where it was just like, oh, one of these teams is much better than the other, right? And like with your little bitty quarterback running around and trying to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Like that's what it felt like at first. And the Eagles were just smacking them, blocking kicks. It looked like that. And then, of course, it didn't end like that, did it? Right? The Bucks managed to bring it around. They came back. And how long are we cutting the Eagles slack for kind of sort of barely getting it done? I mean, I think that's the fair question at this point. Ryan, I watched it. I didn't notice it as this happened. But did you say that Jalen Hurts did not complete a pass in the second half?
Did not complete a pass in the second half.
That's a Jimmy Garoppolo thing, right? Remember that playoff game that the 49ers had where Garoppolo did not, I don't even remember if they let him throw a pass.
I think he threw 8 passes the whole game.
Come on, man. Like, y'all got to stop acting like the skepticism. How you going to act like there's something wrong with me being skeptical of him when he goddamn head coach feel the exact same way? You got A.J. Brown talking about you just got to shrug your shoulder. Don't make a scene. Just shrug your shoulders. You just made a scene. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, after the game.
Can I read the quote?
Yes, please. Hold on, just so people know. A.J. Green, after the game, posted the following in a screenshot on Twitter.
If you are not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene. Shrug your shoulders and be on your way.
I believe that A.J. Green is married, and I ache for that woman because this is the most passive-aggressive man on planet Earth.
I love you. You did the call him AJ Green instead of AJ Brown.
Oh, my bad. So AJ Green, I apologize to you because there are few traits I dislike more than passive aggression. AJ Brown, oh, nothing's wrong. See, nothing's wrong, ass dude. That's it.
Why would you think anything's wrong?
Right. No. What's wrong is that you keep asking me what's wrong. This is what
I wasn't angry, but now I'm starting to get angry.
There we go. This is what we've got here. I can't believe this, but at the same time, to be fair to him, it's one thing when the receiver's not getting the ball and he's upset. It's got to be extra tough when you're not getting the ball and there's clearly a problem, but you're winning. So nobody wants to hear what you have to say. Nobody does. That's where A.J. Brown is in dealing with whatever it is with the Eagles. But you can't win for real like this. Like, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't, this is not a sustainable situation.
You're not going to score 31 points with 200 yards of offense every week.
No. that is not going to be what the thing is. Like, this is what the Chiefs, this feels like what the Chiefs were last year, right? Just getting it done a little bit, nickel and diamond here, They're so talented and they are champions. So there's an element of find a way to win, but that is not a sustainable strategy.
What have they won now? 20 of 21 straight? 20?
Yes.
Yes.
20 of 21. Good for you guys. You clearly have something that's going, but you can't feel good about this. And clearly, A.J. Brown does not feel good about this. Speaking of not feeling good about something, by the way, I just saw this, Ryan. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-1 after that close loss to the Eagles, and their point differential is now 0. Just throwing it out there that they're kind of scraping and getting by too. But speaking of not feeling good, I'll never forget something once. It was a different era in time. And so some of you young people need to understand that people would say things like this on television. But there was a year, I can't remember which season it was, but this is back when there were ties in college football because there wasn't always overtime. So in my lifetime, games would end in ties. And Michigan had a season where I believe their record was 8-0-3. It's like 8 wins, no losses, and 3 ties. But anyway, Lee Corso was asked about how it felt to get the tie and whether that, would be disappointing. And Lee Corso said, and I quote, because this used to be a line here, he says, "A tie is like kissing your sister, but a loss is like kissing your brother." Anyway, no brothers were kissed in Jerry World, where there was a tie game. And I normally don't do this, but I watched the 9:30 game, the game from Ireland with the Steelers. By the way, their backup quarterback guy jumped in the streets of Dublin the night before the game. He got jumped and robbed. And I'm trying to figure out if they started off to rob him and then decided to jump him, or started off to jump him and then decided to rob him. Anyway, I'm saying I watched the 9:30 game. I watched games all the way through the day. Tried to sneak a little nap action when I could, but I watched a lot of football, and I was struggling real hard to watch that game with the Cowboys and the Packers. And I have to say, I found the tenor of the broadcast to just be messy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that the intrigue or the allure of this game was Micah Parsons coming back to play against Dallas. But I just felt like the whole game, all they was doing was instigate. And every time it felt like Micah Parsons had a run on the quarterback, they was getting excited like Dak was the one that traded him. You know what I'm saying? By the way, shout out to you, Dak Prescott, because he out here throwing the eeny, meeny, miny, and mo. And he is getting it done. Like, he looked excellent in that game. And I was texting with Dominique about it, who made the point that he's been excellent all year. But he looked really, really good in this game. And also a measure of credit to the Cowboys in the sense that they got a lot of good players that they got, like low in the draft. Like dudes with names that you don't know about until they play for the Cowboys. Like Turpin is a good example of that, right? They out there, they still
draft well.
Yeah, they draft very well. And look, the Make-A-Wish Foundation was back out there passing out dreams again in this game. Don't get me wrong. The point I wanted to make was, and I feel like everybody else did. My old ass worked really hard. And I believe that game went till midnight, which does not typically happen on Sunday Night Football. I was up all that time, sweating out a field goal to tie the game. That was it. To tie the game. We got to get back to the old rules, baby. There was nothing wrong with sudden death overtime. Everybody wanted overtime to be fair. Josh Allen didn't even get to touch the ball. Then he should have won the game the other place. I would be okay if the tiebreaker was a goddamn coin flip. It's a tiebreaker. Everybody had their chance to win. Instead, we running out a whole nother quarter? What are you talking about? No. First score wins. As it was, as it should be, first score wins. That's what it always should have been. I was so grumpy that I was so tired, and all we got out of it was a tie. That was it. A tie. I hated that. I hated that. But anyway, I also have to say that Michael Parsons coming back to play against the Cowboys really didn't prove to be as compelling as I thought it might be. The revenge game, Ryan, I believe, is really only a truly interesting topic if it's a quarterback. Otherwise, you're just one of 11 guys.
Yeah, it's very hard to get, unless you're Lawrence Taylor out there, it's really hard to get the true full pass rush revenge game special. It's also more of a basketball game topic than a football game topic.
I think that's fair, right? Maybe It's got some hockey in it, or you could be a pitcher, you can go out here and throw a no-hitter. And I think with baseball, it's less like a revenge game than just a return. I remember when Darryl Strawberry came back to Shea Stadium for the first time, and they gave him a standing boo. People stood up and clapped and booed at the same time, right? That was the middle ground that they had established when it came to that. But yeah, it didn't do it for me as a television show as I thought it would. I tell you, a television show we might need to start watching the Titans press conferences after games. Number one, the head coach, who all of us think stinks, is starting to get a little salty with the questions. But, by the way, shout out to Malik Neighbors. It looks like he tore his ACL in the game on Sunday. That's a terrible thing to hear. And we have been talking about how, it's bad when the rookies come in salty, right? Like when the rookies have already had enough of it. And Neighbors was like that as a rookie, but now he's in his second year. Cam Ward, the number one overall pick, who, in what I've seen, has looked pretty good.
It looks like he can play.
Yes, but I don't know who else on that team looks like they can play. They look bad, and they just go out here they just getting their asses kicked. They lost to the Rams 33-19. They lost to the Colts 41-20. Those two were at the crib, by the way. Then they went to Houston and lost 26-0. And please understand, the ownership group of the Tennessee Titans wants nothing less than to go to Houston and get shut out like they did. A team that was 0-3 coming into that game, right? And so here is Cam Ward after the game being asked about how the team played.
Everything from interception to a penalty to an incompletion by me, a bad ball. And then once we pass the 50, we just not continuing the drive. If we keeping a buck right now, we ass. So we 0-4. We have, at this point, we got nothing to lose. We dropped a quarter of our fucking game.
If we're keeping it a buck. Now, we got another one where I couldn't even tell what he was asked about, but this was his answer.
I didn't think you played personally.
Ass.
Mm-hmm.
It was asked about how he thought he played personally.
Yeah.
Ass, but what killed me was at the end. Mm-hmm.
I love how he slips he starts in quarterback talk, just can't help himself.
Yes.
And then goes back right to it. But you can tell it's the true honesty because he breaks character for exactly 8 seconds. And he says, we're ass.
Can't believe they're this sorry. Look, man, this dude was a no-star recruit from West Columbia, Texas. He went to Incarnate Word, he went to Washington State, and then he went to Miami. He cannot believe how terrible this team is that he currently plays for. Just shocks him at every turn. I always say nothing's worse than being on a bad baseball team, but at least they don't hit you in baseball, right? Being on a bad baseball team, you got to do this shit 160 sometimes a year. At least they don't hit you, right? Football, they hit you while you're being terrible. That's that's rough. We also had a fun thing. I didn't see this during the week, Ryan, so I was unaware that at his press availability, Robert Saleh apparently had told people, or had said that Liam Cohen, the coach of the Bucs, was very good. He's now the coach of the Jaguars. He was offensive coordinator of the Bucs last year. But that he was very good at legally stealing signs. And if you're not familiar with Liam Cohen, he's the dork. At least he looked like a dork at the press conference. Duval, you remember that? And so Saleh tried to shake his hand after the game. The Jaguars won, by the way. They looked good, too. They won that game, and Saleh tried to go dap him up, and Cohen walked away from him, and then walked away and told him to keep his name out his mouth. Did you see, by the way, that Saleh told him that he would end his life
Again, we were talking about this before the show. Talk about a stay ready all-star.
Woo! No. I would not want to fight Robert Saleh under any circumstance whatsoever. Oh, he told him, these are quotes, okay? I was trying to compliment your ass. I will fuck your world up. You don't want to fuck with me. I will fucking end your fucking life. Whoa!
I got it. Message received.
Yo!
Yeah, all right.
That is amazing. What an amazing thing to say. And by the way, Ryan, this is my question. If you are walking away and you hear him say that, on one level, you got to stop and turn around, but on another, you can't, right?
Right. No, you got to keep walking, especially if you turn around and there's a Robert Saleh behind you.
Well, it is also very clear that Robert Saleh is a little bit more invested in this than perhaps I was. Although I think Liam Cohen
apparently more invested than Liam Cohen is because he kept walking.
Well, I was thinking, Cohen thought he was doing something. Hey, keep your name out my mouth. He really thought he was, and then he found out he was not. He was not. Last thing before we go into this break, I'll throw this out here. Jaxson Dart did not look much better than Russell Wilson to me in what I saw in that game. Although he did get a rushing touchdown and he looked like he did the Theo Huxtable touchdown dance. I have a lot of questions about our friend from Utah. He did a year at USC and then he went to Ole Miss. And do his parents even recognize him? You know what I mean? Like, he out here doing them dances. He got that expensive chain on. And my buddy Shannon, I meant to mention this on the L, but I got distracted. But my buddy Shannon was like, who on the defense will try to take his chain? And I just thought about this. If these cats was wearing chains like this back when football was a little bit less of a civil game, I feel like it would be at least one player whose whole identity, it would be like a wrestling character. In fact, somebody can still do this right now and you make yourself a chain snatcher. Like, you need a cat out there. Like, I bet you if these cats was wearing these chains out there in the days of Dick Buckets, I don't even want to think about what he would call them people, but he would definitely be snatching them chains, right? Now, I don't mean a chain snatcher like Aqib Talib, who just really had a problem with that one man having a chain, and that's the chain that he snatched. And when he snatched the chain, he just threw it on the ground. I'm talking about the chain snatcher, whoever got a chain on around him, like really on some like legit Debo. He coming and he's snatching your chain. And unlike Talib, who snatched the dude's chain and threw it on the ground, no, this motherfucker gonna take your chain and go to the sideline and put it in the bag with all the other chains that he done snatched. And you ain't even really gonna do nothing about it because you don't want no problems with the chain snatcher. Like James Harrison, he could have been a good person to be the chain snatcher. So I'm telling you, man, if there's a cat out there that's body that's truly got it in his soul, you can go out there and you can make yourself a chain snatcher. Like we need some more, like, game ain't got no villains. Game ain't got no like real scary people. Like, I mean, they scare me, but you know what I'm saying. The game ain't really got no real super duper scary dudes anymore. Somebody need to come out there and make himself the chain snatcher. But anyway, I made the point that he didn't really look that much better, Jaxson Dart, than Russell Wilson, to simply say, sometimes it's not about what it is, it's about how it feels. And watching Russell Wilson be bad, it felt demoralizing. Watching Jaxson Dart be bad, it feels like it could be better. Even if it's the same. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, from breakout rookies to elite QBs, and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code Bomani. That's code Bomani. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus award is non-withdrawable pick six bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos. All right, Bo, let's get to some stories from the weekend. Turns out Bad Bunny will be headlining the 2026 Super Bowl halftime show in San Francisco. Bo, what were your thoughts?
Okay, so I don't speak enough Spanish yet to be out here listening to Bad Bunny and understanding what's going on. I am always impressed by the fact that people can go tour in these other countries where people don't even speak their language and they be doing it all and knowing all the words. Now, part of it, of course, is that these other people are more sophisticated than we are in the United States. But on the other hand, they are able to find a way to appreciate, languages that they don't understand. That's wild to me because when people start speaking languages around me that I don't understand, I be getting nervous and trying to figure out what the word for black is, just in case. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care if we talk about the nail shop, the Bronx, any of them places, man. That's how it goes. So anyway, I don't know enough of the language to say that I really understand and can get down with his music. It's not my speed, but I know a superstar when I see one. And that is 100% a superstar. So I think it's really cool that he is doing the Super Bowl, in part because I think that very often our concepts of race and ethnicity and all of those things in this country is binary. We think in the context of black and white, and we just forget our Latino brothers and sisters are here in a lot of those discussions. Now, Latino obviously is a very broad term, right? So I don't know how, for example, I don't know how much Mexicans enjoy Bad Bunny. I just literally do not know, right? So I'm not saying that this is an act that is for every Latino in America. I understand that there's a measure of nuance there. However, I do think that this is a choice for Latinos, right? That is putting them out front in terms of, who you are hoping to primarily entertain with this show. This is much different than Shakira and Jennifer Lopez in Miami, because that's kind of a little something for everybody, if you know what I mean. Just playing. But anyway, this is different than that. So I thought it was kind of cool that they did that. I will also say, I looked this up before we started the show. I don't think people have noticed this, boy. The last 20 years of Super Bowl halftime have been a little bit of a race war. We have not had just regular old white people headline the Super Bowl halftime show since Maroon 5 in February of 2019. Since then, Shakira and Jennifer Lopez, The Weeknd, Dr. Dre and them. I mean, Eminem was part of it, but you know what I mean. Rihanna, Usher, Kendrick Lamar, and now Bad Bunny. Jay-Z done took it back, boy. Okay. But I did not notice this about the decade before. The decade before, Beyonce played at the Superdome in February 2013. That's the Super Bowl where the lights went out. That's also that Super Bowl where Beyonce licked her finger and did a little hip. Ooh, good gracious. Anyway, after that, Bruno Mars, a little something for everybody. But then Katy Perry, Coldplay, Lady Gaga, Justin Timberlake, and Maroon 5. They started off the decade with The Who. Hell, after that, it was the Black Eyed Peas. I don't know who that was for, but it damn sure wasn't for me. But anyway, yeah. So shout out, man. This is a cool little situation. They got Bad Bunny out there. And hopefully by the time that comes around, I'll know what the hell he'd be out there talking about.
All right, let's look to college football this past weekend. Alabama beat Georgia 24-21. Oregon beat Penn State in double overtime. Ole Miss beat LSU 24-19. Bo, to you, what was the most shocking result?
I don't know if any of them were shocking. I guess, you know what? I think it would be fair to say for me that the Alabama-Georgia game, I don't know if it was shocking, but Alabama they still got dudes, right? Georgia doesn't have dudes in the same way, and even Alabama doesn't have dudes in the same way. But the talent level at Alabama, I looked at it, and you know what it made me think? Oh, buddy, Kalen DeBoer, this win is actually going to make your life harder not easier. Because now you done shown that you could do it. Right? So if you go out here and lose to Vanderbilt again, Vanderbilt smoked somebody else over the weekend. That's what we were talking about with Elle and her husband. But yeah, Georgia, I think it becomes interesting. We talked about this with Elle. They've got a nemesis that they just can't get over. Just can't. Actually, who am I kidding? This Ole Miss thing, like, there's a number of reasons that I can never get on board with them ever under any circumstance whatsoever, right? Lane's supposed to lose those games. Like, I don't like this thing of where we're supposed to take them seriously. I don't. Is
it the Old Miss of it or the Lane of it to you?
Yes. Yes. No, this is the Ole Miss of it that does legitimately bother me, and I don't think we talk about this enough. Obviously, Lane Kiffin understands that being Ole Miss has it's a bit fraught in terms of your attempts to recruit and the likes, right? So I remember
some obstacles.
So their slogan used to be, I don't know if they're still doing it, but like the hashtag was "Come to the Sip," right? And so it's Lane on the sideline in a hoodie with the state of Mississippi on it, and it's the sip, the sip, the sip. Nah, either y'all gonna be the Ole Miss Rebels or you're not. You don't get to pretend that this isn't what it is when you're trying to trick the black people into coming to your school, right? If you want to be the Ole Miss Rebels, do that shit all the time. Put on your gray loser suits, right? Walk around with muskets or whatever it is. You don't get to act like that's not who you want to be when it's time for you to get players. Be it all the time or don't be it ever. So yeah, I guess the shock is people really be sending their kids to go to school. I just cannot imagine telling my dad, I think I want to go to Ole Miss. I can't. I could tell him I was going to Duke first. By the way, how you feeling about Ryan Kelly? You LSU guys, how do you?
It's gonna be a long season. It's been a long journey. It's gonna keep being a long journey.
Hey man, you can't. Even if you eventually win a national championship, it can't be fun when you actively hate your coach because you're not happy for him when any of this happens. Like, you can't do that.
It really is amazing because it is so unlikable in so many ways. He plays an unlikable style of football. They run an unlikable offense, and he's an unlikable person. So it is quite an unlikable experience.
Our guy Van Lathan hit Brian Kelly with an all-time haymaker on the Ranger tailgate, and he says, everybody says that any coach can win at Ole Miss, and coaches win at Ole Miss. The last three have won there.
LSU.
Yeah, LSU. Yeah, sorry, LSU. Saban, Les Miles, and Ogeron, but they're wrong. Men win at LSU. Damn. Men win national championships at LSU. LSU, just so everybody understands, is 4-1.
4-1, 13th ranked team in the country, and this is how the fan base.
Nobody's happy.
Nobody's happy. All right. So speaking of shocking things, Indiana's quarterback, they might have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He spoke after their win, after taking an intentional safety. Take a listen.
Through the final play of the game there, you kind of ran. It looked like you were going to slow down, and you sped up. Coach said you were just in front of the backhands. Like, it's just kind of what was going through your mind as you were running with the ball.
Yeah, there was. I mean, whatever it takes to win the game. So coach said, "Hey, take a safety, run through the back of the end zone," and I didn't ever want to put our team in jeopardy where maybe if I slid, with 1 second left, there could be some type of, maybe some quirk that would be called and we have to punt it or do something on 4th down. So I just wanted to get out of the safety. I know I probably, obviously shouldn't be saying this, but I know I probably cooked people's spreads and stuff like that. And I really apologize for that. However, in that moment, my goal was to win the game. And at that point, at 0-0,
Number one,
on the 2-yard line.
I shouldn't be saying this. Stop. Right there. You had a great out. That's what we call it, an out. You had an out right there. You remember what Alabama was playing against Oklahoma. This is when Kyler Murray was there in the semifinal game, and Quentin Williams was about to start talking about Kyler Murray. He caught himself in the middle and was right?
It was before the game. You started shaking his head.
Like he realized he was about to mess up the money and was like, no, we're not doing that. I'm telling you, all you boys, don't make any acknowledgement to any of the gambling in public ever. Like, I'm assuming that he knows about this because they was blowing up his mentions. Don't, guys, leave it be. And don't acknowledge these people. You can't give them anything. You can't do that, number one. Number two, broaden your horizons. You keep talking about the people you messed it up for. How about the people you made winners? Like, everybody talks about the bad beat. What about the good win? Right? Like, for somebody, them bad beats be like pennies from heaven. You don't even think about it like that, did you?
All right, moving over to the concerts. People have noticed throughout the country that concerts keep getting more and more expensive. That doesn't seem to be a problem to everyone, including the Live Nation CEO. Let's take a listen.
For you, music is a better business, though, than selling tickets for sports, I assume.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think music has been underappreciated. I always joke, sports, it's like a badge of honor to spend $70,000 for a Knicks courtside. They beat me up if we charge $800 for Beyonce, right? So it's we have a lot of runway left, right? So when you read about the ticket prices going up, it's still average concert price is $72. Try going to a Laker game for that, and there's 80 of them or whatever the hell. So the concert is underpriced, has been for a long time.
Okay, this is the problem that cats like this have in these moments. Because I will say that I thought that he presented a pretty compelling argument if you were going to say that concert tickets are underpriced, okay? It don't feel that way. You're not going to convince anybody that they're underpriced. You could explain that you are providing value at the number or whatever it is, right? But you also need to understand this. There is no ticket at any concert that is better than a courtside seat.
Of course.
Let's. And it is not a badge of honor. We talk about those prices like they're crazy also. And do you notice who sits for the courtside seats at those games? It's only super duper rich people, right? We acknowledge the courtside seat as being in this untouchable air of things. The concert ticket is not that, right? And I'll say this, me personally. I am good to put some bread on a very good concert ticket. Maybe part of it is because I live in New York City now or whatever, but I've even found this for me in other places. But my seats are creeping farther and farther back. And it's because these tickets cost too much money. Like in the sports tickets too. I was up there in the nosebleeds at the US Open for $300 for the third round.
It is a very American concept to talk, like we talk about how expensive these tickets get as in these resale markets as they're a good thing. Like,
right.
Look, these tickets are selling for X on the secondary market. That's a very American concept.
Yeah. I will ask this man this, where he says the average price of a ticket is this and and everything else. Now compare this to Europe, where you don't have the resale game dominating as it does here. You don't have all the fees that everybody, because we talk about the average concert ticket is $72. What are the fees on that? Is that what it is after fees? Because there's no way in the world that you're going to tell me the average concert ticket right now, after all the fees and everything else, is $72.
It is cheaper on these mega tours for people to fly to Iceland or to Portugal or to Spain to go see, these people are touring internationally, and for, Beyonce's, the Coldplay's, obviously when Taylor Swift tours again.
Yeah.
Like it is now cheaper to go abroad. Like
including the ticket in some cases.
Yeah, it is lost the plot. And finally, the Jimmy Kimmel situation seems to have resolved, going back on the air on Tuesday, even though Nexstar and Sinclair local stations did not have him on the air, but those local stations are now airing Late Night with Jimmy Kimmel. Though obviously, this is not how we thought the situation was going to resolve itself. How surprised were you that this is what happened?
I didn't think that Kimmel would come back. Like, my thought about immediately saying it's over there was I thought that Kimmel was going to receive all of this as such a violation of trust. Like, how could you ever feel comfortable going back on the air, me personally, right? And being sincere in your work, knowing that they not going to back you up, even if you could justify them not backing him up. I didn't think that there would be any chance that he would come back. So by the time we put that out, it was incorrect.
We had a good 4 hours.
We got I tell you, there was never a moment where I might have been wrong, but I didn't think I was going to be wrong that fast, right? That never dawned on me. But apparently, part of what happened was ABC reminded everybody, we've got football and we're going to have the Super Bowl and you're not going to get it.
We're done.
Right. So maybe they feel like they did all they had to do to convince the people that they wanted to convince that they was on the right side, right? Like, maybe they did what was necessary to convince on that front. I don't know. I just don't. The question to me, and I guess we'll see more on what the ultimate answer for this is as we go, but is the real moral of the story that they overplayed their hand? Those who believe that it was the place of the government to tell a company to shut down something that they were doing, and then it happens, right? Did they overestimate how much pull they truly had on that? Now, while I say that, on the other hand, it's looking like they throwing people in jail for not the greatest reasons in the world. So maybe I need to be worried a little bit less about Jimmy Kimmel than I need to be worried about everybody else.
All right, the voicemail line's open. A lot of good ones. Here's our first.
Hey, Bomani, longtime listener. I got out of church, checked my notifications, and I saw that Sam Pittman has been fired from Arkansas and that they have promoted Bobby Petrino to interim head coach. And if you have not covered this as a part of your morning segment, I will be so disappointed. So I'd love to hear you just talk about one of the greatest scandals in sports history for those younger that don't know about it. I think our audience and the world will be better for it. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right. So for those of you who don't know this, Bobby Petrino is a legendarily sleazy sort of dude. And the reputation for his sleaze started when he was an offensive coordinator at this time he had been the offensive coordinator at Auburn, and then he went and took the job at Louisville. And toward the end of the 2003 season, the Auburn boosters, as is their wont, were getting a little bit anxious with Tommy Tuberville and jumped on the plane to go holler at Bobby Petrino about maybe taking the job while the job was still filled. Okay. He worked that job at Louisville, was very good. Went and took the head coaching job with the Falcons, where he thought his quarterback was going to be Michael Vick. And instead, his quarterback turned out to be a soon-to-be convicted felon. And his quarterback was actually Joey Harrington. And it did not go well. He took the job at Arkansas in the middle of the football season, didn't say a word to anybody, and just left notes in the players' lockers. He gets to Arkansas, where he does an excellent job. And he was out one day riding a motorcycle, and he was thrown from his motorcycle and thrown into a ditch where he had broken bones in his neck, among other things. The thing was, he was on the motorcycle with a woman who wasn't his wife, who worked in the athletic department. And so he was ultimately fired for having the improper relationship with the young lady. But where it became interesting is Bobby Petrino was face first in a ditch with broken bones in his neck and immediately began to cook up a cover-up for what had happened and arrange for a phone call to be made to his homeboy in the state troopers to come and get him and take care of everything. And he only got caught because a good Samaritan saw his motorcycle, called it in, read off the license plate number, at which point they figured out it was Bobby Petrino. But in a ditch with a broken neck, he immediately began to cook up lies. And it almost worked. Do you realize what a dedicated liar you have to be in that moment, to where your first concern is not just get somebody here as soon as possible? It's hold on.
Not just for me, for the person who also got thrown off from the motorcycle as well.
I, from time to time, forget that she was also thrown from the motorcycle. In fact, I'm assuming she was okay. But, there's different conspiracy theories that he didn't get thrown from the motorcycle. He actually got beat up or whatever. No. He got thrown from this motorcycle. And he did the all-time legendary press conference with the neck brace and the Sugar Bowl cap to remind them that Bobby Petrino had gotten them to the Sugar Bowl.
When you just have to lead with a college football coach as sleazy, that that's a really special character.
Yes. Now, the thing that I think has been interesting about him, though, was after he got fired at Arkansas, he got a job coaching at Western Kentucky. Like, he keeps, finding his way back. But lately, his new bag has been going to these places where the coach is on the hot seat. And so maybe he could slide his way in. So he went to Western Kentucky for a year, and then he went back to Louisville because as much as people don't fuck with him, he is really good at this. So he had to go get that old thing back, right? Arkansas, he went to, when Jimbo was on the hot seat at Texas A&M, he took the OC job there because he thought he could slide in. Didn't work. Peeped your game. Then he gets back to Arkansas where Sam Pittman was on the hot seat. And now Sam Pittman is gone. And he slides in as interim coach. And I know he thinks that maybe, just maybe, he can get in and he can keep this job. And he might.
It's certainly on the board.
Look, man, you give Bobby Petrino enough money to get some players, and he can be a problem.
All right, here's our next one.
Bo, man, what's going on? Big Tim from the DMV. Hey, couple of years ago, you and Spencer did an episode where y'all basically did a retrospective of Stevie Wonder. Basically, hey, this is why Stevie Wonder is amazing, and it's honestly one of my favorite episodes that you've ever done. I know you're a Prince guy just like I am. He is my favorite artist of all time. So I guess my first question would be, would you ever do one, or can you do one with Prince? That'd be amazing. And then my second question would be, is there a quintessential song that you go and say all right, cool, this is the song that you play for somebody if you're trying to explain how amazing Prince is? The one I always play is Adore, because I feel like nobody has ever explained love in that way or whatever, just the way that he explains it. That's the one that I always play and be like, nah, you can't get down with this. I don't know if you can get down. Do you have one? Appreciate it, man. Y'all have a good day.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. And I think the Stevie Wonder episode of this podcast is the one that is more people's number one than any other, right? If they just have an episode that they can pull out the air, it is that one. The thing about it was, and why I haven't tried to redo that, is what really made that go was a very particular energy, excitement, and enthusiasm that we had in that moment in what we were talking about. I don't know. It's an impossible act to follow, right? I don't know how to, I don't know if you can recreate it because it wasn't really structured. And so when I look back on it, it's man, I'd like to do something like that, perhaps with a little bit of structure. And then with Prince, I'd be out here for 4 hours trying to get it straight. But I don't even think I don't even know if our plan that show was to talk about Stevie the whole time. I can't remember exactly how it came together. But yeah, it was a hoot. It was a whole lot of fun. And so, yes, I would thought about doing similar things with similar artists. I think I can go ahead and tell people this, Ryan, that for 2026, we are planning on a series on the rap albums of the greatest year in the history of rap, 1996. And so we're gonna put that together. But we did the one for 94. We want this to be a little different, and we learned from what we did the last time to make it a little structured and a little better. So similar things, have been on my mind. Now, the Prince song, to explain it for me, is tricky because Prince goes into 18 different directions. What I would say, though, is I think that Prince's greatest all-purpose song is Little Red Corvette. I think that's the one that you're most likely to be able to throw off of somebody, and they're going to get it no matter what point they start on. The most only Prince could do this is 2 songs. It's When Doves Cry, which to me is just lights out, but I don't I wonder how easy it is for somebody to immediately digest in this day and age, though it was a number one pop single when it came out. And the other one, obviously, is If I Was Your Girlfriend, which is like, those are two songs that Prince has got more songs that nobody can cover. Like, you can try that if you want to, but it's not going to work. Like, you've got the, like, Nothing Compares to You and the other joints that they are there. Yes, other people can go ahead and do this. But there is a wing of those that's like, all you guys need to leave this one alone. Genuine, of all people, had the nerve to try to redo When Doves Cry. I can't believe Prince cleared it. You're not doing that. TLC tried to do If I Was Your Girlfriend. The audacity. You guys ain't built for this. Like, that is not a bunny slope for you to try. But yeah, I guess we thought you're doing something on Prince. It's just a matter of figuring out exactly how.
All right, here's our last one.
Hey, Bomani. This is Aaron in Kansas City, Missouri. Your favorite Uber driver. Just calling in. Shout out to all the Thai water preferences. My pops grew up in Norfolk, well, technically Suffolk, Virginia. Used to be called Petersville. And he went to Thai Water Community College back in the day. Unfortunately, passed away. Shout out to him. But, yeah. Do you have a favorite nonfiction book that you would recommend? And when are you going to bring back your book club? Thank you. Love the show, Bomani. My brother and I faithfully listen to you all. And just looking forward to seeing the evolution of your show. All right. Take care.
I appreciate it, brother. Book club is a possibility for the summer. We're planning on things. We'll see how that goes. Nonfiction books. The one that jumps to the top of my mind is a bunch, obviously, but the one that I think for this audience is probably the way to go. And I think we did this in the book club here, but it's fine. Friday Night Lights, Buzz Bissinger. Possibly the best book I've ever read. Like, it's not the movie. It's closer. I mean, it's closer to the movie. It's not the TV show. It is incredible. Like, I can't say enough. That one there. Like, you know, the obvious has like Fire Next Time, James Baldwin, Between the World and Me, Ta-Nehisi Coates. But you really can't lose with Friday Night Lights. If you have not read it and you only know it as a pop culture phenomenon on screen, trust me, read it. Promise.
Especially people who are not from Texas.
Yes.
It's like people who like want to learn, like talk about like places that feel like almost like the world building in that is almost similar to a fiction book.
Yes.
But it is truly of understanding the characters and also like in a way what football used to be, right?
Yes.
I think Friday Night Lights is a perfect.
There's also an amazing trick, whether it be a filmmaker or an author, of someone who, however way, manages to make people feel perfectly comfortable being straight out about how racist they really are. It is amazing how comfortably racist everybody that he talked to was. It is shocking how comfortably racist they were in that. And it is an important part of the story. It tells a lot. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this here 3 times a week. Ryan Brumley handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Also hit the voicemail line, 323-596-7767. It is open for whatever you want to talk about. 323-596-7767. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.